All right, welcome to the new month. This is your September collective reading. And I was waiting until we are really into the month instead of doing a September reading at the end of August. We've had a really interestingly wonky summer. Obviously, it affected everyone differently, but the energies have been very interesting. I don't think that people felt like it was a typical summer. Obviously, everyone experiences energies differently, but at least for the people that I'm speaking to, the collective that I'm speaking to, it's been quite of a ride. It's a lot of, like, I feel like different things happened that you weren't necessarily anticipating. So right now we're kind of recapping the energy. It is coming to me. I guess it is going to lead to what is relevant in September. But the way that I'm seeing this is that there's a line here between what happened or what might have happened in the summer months, so June, July, August, throughout this 3 month period, whatever theme you might have experienced or whatever feelings or whatever emotion that you might have written, you are supposed to use that. And I don't think it's something manually that has to be done. I think that it is rather a very natural process where there has been some sort of an upgrade. So September, you're entering this energy as if the summer didn't even happen in a way that you feel like it should have happened, because so many things that you weren't foreseeing happened, and a lot of things that had to happen in a way so that you are seeing more of yourself and what you need to get rid of, and what you need to fight for. So there are different things that took place here that allows you to see more of yourself. So you met with an opportunity that you could have utilized for yourself. This is why I say it's not always about what happens to you in your life, but a lot of the times it's all about how you can utilize that for yourself. So life isn't just about what happens to you, it's also how you react to it and how you correspond to those circumstances. So this is why we talk about co-creation, which is something that I always like to remind you guys of, that in order to find that empowerment, you have to have the mindset to drive forward. It's not just about like waiting for things to happen. You have to be in the driver's seat and propel forward. So it's showing that on the collective level, it went wonky, not necessarily in a bad way. Again, good or bad are all relative too. You can turn a lot of confusing and negative situations into a positive outcome, and we might not even have the outcome just yet. Sometimes it's all part of the process. I don't want you guys to necessarily always reach for destinations, because you don't get to decide what the destination is sometimes, because you're only working with what you have, right? And the destination itself is an illusion because your journey never ends anyway. So that means that whatever that had to happen this over the summer, whatever you experienced, whatever you got to see, all the goods and all the bads, or everything combined, it is part of your journey. So there was something to take away from that. Doesn't mean it was a blessing. Doesn't have to be a blessing for you to take away from it. You know, I'm not saying to use that to personalize yourself. Like, I'm not saying to personalize the experience to make it about like your fault or whatever. This is more than that. I'm saying that you got to see what type of person you are, ideally. And if you haven't done this type of thought process, I want you to do this. I'm encouraging you to sort of think about what happened over the summer, and now who are you today because of that. You know, maybe it's one incident that was significant to you. Maybe it's a series of incidents. Maybe it's a collective incidents that creates a theme. So you're able to have a perspective based on what you experienced. So that's what I'm talking about. So now, going into September, the reason why I'm emphasizing on you kind of reflecting on all these things, and I don't really feel like this is a time where you're going to have a clarity. And if you feel like you have clarity, I want you to know that there's more clarity coming. But even clarity, right? Clarity is also about the attitude. You are going to have clarity if you are willing to accept what is in front of you, what has been revealed to you. A lot of the times, the reason why people struggle with having clarity is because they don't actually want the answer for what it is. They want the answer in a way that they want to hear it from. This is another thing that I also encounter often with readings. Actually, I don't deal with this type of clients anymore, but before, there used to be frequent situations where people would get upset because they're not hearing the answers that they're looking for. So obviously, I do promise to give you a clear guidance. So an answer could be very neutral or very clear and very direct, but if that's not the answer that you're looking for, or you're choosing to be confused regardless of what you're hearing, then that is why you're not seeking clarity. And sometimes your clarity shouldn't be a goal anyway, because there are other emotional processes you have to undergo. So it's just different aspects of clarity. But anyways, I digress. I'm trying to say that because we have been overlapped by different retrogrades, the summer has not been entirely like, like a hot girl summer per se. Like, it hasn't been like it hasn't really felt like it probably didn't feel like a summer. Like, I feel like on the collective level, you were bombarded by something, whether it is like, obviously it has everyone differently, but it just feels to me that for most people it was like you were overcasted by something. So there was an external thing that was influencing you. Obviously what's the word, it simultaneously happens. An external event happens, and then it takes over your internal state, and it exchanges that energy, and then like that's where the process like also takes place, and then it affects you. But it feels to me that there was something happened externally, because I don't really feel like it was entirely intrinsically motivated. I feel like something happened on the external level, and that caused something within yourself, and now that probably is what started this transformation period. Which is why I say, if you feel like you don't have the clarity just yet, although on the collective level, I'm hearing that there is a sense of something. You got something out of it. Doesn't mean that you like this. I'm not saying this is a prize, but I'm saying you got something out of what you experienced. So going into September now, okay? I'm hearing that give this a chance. Now, I don't really feel like it's a specific thing that we're talking about. I feel like we're talking in the sense of this new era that only you could take charge of. So, meaning that if you've had some new inspirations, or if you've been perhaps reluctant to go this direction, I want you to maybe lean towards what's been pulling you. So instead of separating yourself from this thing that's pulling you, because there is no logical structure or like this feeling of certainty just yet, I want you to lean towards that. Again, not necessarily aiming for the state of certainty or clarity, but rather I want you to give it a chance. That's exactly how I'm hearing this. Give it a chance, because you are working with only what you know. So of course, aiming for the state of certainty and clarity is not really going to be beneficial, because how could you have clarity when you don't have all the pieces together? However, what you do have information about is you are being driven towards something here, calling your name. So if you have reservations about how it's going to manifest, okay, don't worry about that, okay? Because this is more about, because there seems to be reservations about like, oh, like things that you don't necessarily have control over. So it could be like financial, or logistically, or just the normal level of reservations when you're trying to, I guess, go into a different direction. But what should be guiding you through this uncertainty is the certainty of how you feel, because there is this thing that you are emotionally connected to that is drawing you towards this thing. So although you might not feel super prepared, because it's coming off as like you don't feel prepared, but you somehow feel connected to this thing. So I would follow that feeling. Again, we're only talking about the month of September, okay? This is a collective reading as well. So if you want to talk about something specific about your personal life, of course, book it one-on-one, please. That's the only way I can help you, okay? There's a sense where you want to just kind of rush through this process, because you don't even know why you're being drawn to this, but you are somehow already on the path of working towards that. But there are some reservations here. So I feel like there's a side of you that you feel like everything should line up, because you now want this thing, or you think that you want this thing. So there's a sense of like rushing here. But um that's what could create like more fear, because it's not, this clarity you're seeking is not going to show up in the way that you want or in your own timing. So if you, so there's something about also moving away, or like kind of like you're, because I'm seeing this vision of like you're looking at a specific direction, far away from where you're at. So it could also mean metaphorically, not always physically, but I'm also hearing it could mean like physically, something about like, you know, you kind of looking ahead from where you're at, kind of like you knowing rigidly, like you feel like this is the right thing for you. So there seems to be like an influence of your stubbornness. This is why it's such a contradicting, like it's a very self-contradicting state, because you feel like you're not prepared, and you feel like it should get you to that preparation. Like you have this specific expectations from life based on how you feel, and based on this desire to like bridge the gap between now and there. So either way though, it seems that regardless of the fact that you don't feel fully prepared, you are pretty stubborn and fixed about making this happen in a certain way. So there seems to be like you knowing that, like this is what I'm hearing. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And I want you to know that as long as you maintain this attitude of like you knowing you like you are going to trust yourself, then you will continue to receive clarity and communication or whatever you need to make this become a full picture. Like it's gonna keep coming, but you can't expect this overnight. Okay, so there's a lot of like you being pulled towards something. Okay, you being pulled towards something. Again, it's like a distance type of stuff. So whatever you're desiring, there seems to involve some distance. So again, where this is a collective reading, so I can't personalize to an exact detail, but this could be like you're thinking about relocating, or you're already working towards that direction, or kind of moving away from where you're at right now, or wanting to get away, like you're wanting to start over, but it does seem to involve like relocation. So there seems to be something calling your name, but there is, again, there seems to be a lot of reservations here. Okay, this could play out on different pictures depending on who you are. Like if this is not gonna look the same way for some people. I feel like you're just daydreaming about this and thinking about if this is possible or not, but you are hung up by the logistical factor, so you're like kind of like daydreaming even more. But for other people, you are already in the motion of making this work. So it's like, but both have the rigidity of stubbornness to it. So it's like knowing like this is what's calling your name. I do want to say that throughout this month, I want, like, the more you listen to your emotions and where emotions guide you, the more opportunity will seek after you as well. And there also might be someone who like counsels, like you might receive counsel or guidance from someone, whether you choosing to be, or, and it's saying that this is a time where it's good to seek counsel, or it might even happen unexpectedly without your seeking, but it's just showing something about like someone guiding you through this time where they remind you of what really is the most important thing to you. Because it's also showing it might be good to seek counsel, because there seems to be some conflict here. I don't know what this conflict is. Obviously this is collective, and this conflict is what's kind of feeding into those reservations that you have about this new beginning. And so yeah, there's a lot of contradicting, like I don't want to say self-sabotage. There is no sabotage. It's more like you need to be responsible about how your mind is battling itself, because the one direction is trusting yourself and keep pushing forward where your heart is guided to, and the other side is like being super logistical and logical, like you feel like everything needs to make sense and everything needs to have clarity. So you need to find a balance, either a balance, or you have to completely trust the process and go this way. I mean, I can't tell you to go, to the, wait, I'm sorry, like a hands, this is confusing me. This is my left hand, but this obviously is a right hand. It freaked me out for a second. Because when I'm pointing this way, I'm trying to point at my left hand, but on the screen it's showing us I'm pointing at my right hand. What I'm trying to say here is, obviously, I'm not going to tell you to trust your fear, But for some of you, unfortunately, it's showing that way, that you're unable to take that step forward because you're like, it's like you're too much in your head. There's a lack of faith. Okay, so even though I'm speaking to a collective here, there are different energies that's playing out. Okay, but I do want to say, like I was saying in the very beginning, like there is a cycle that like sort of, like you're supposed to utilize a cycle that has recently been complete to help yourself for the next level, which is why I say trusting yourself is always going to work in your favor, and you've already seen what you had to see. So like there's no more clarity you need to make decisions, at least. So it's one thing to need clarity about your own directions, but it's a whole other thing to like feel like you need to hear more clarity from other things, like, you know, maybe it's other relationships, or like you're waiting for something to happen. Like you don't have to wait for that to come. It's gonna come in time, I'm hearing. But for you, for right now, you have to move on. Okay, so if you feel like you're waiting for something before you have to make this like transition, or at least like start moving on, at least spiritually or psychologically or mentally, then you're gonna get stuck. Okay, there's a lot of like frustration that I'm like seeing here for you, where you feel like you want to be aggressive about the next chapter, and you want to just go at it, and you want to be like, you want to be selfish, and you want to really have, you want to find your own dreams and goals and visions, but there is something that's holding you back. But I feel like that's all mental. If you're really wanting to say F it all and just do your own thing, that is possible. Like I want you to actually reevaluate, like, what are things that you are willing to work towards. You know, what are you willing to work towards that you're willing to put the work in and not worry about what you don't have control over? I think you need to reevaluate that, because there is a lack of patience here. Interestingly, though, you not having patience is going to lead you to more control issues, and you having control issues is going to make you more stuck, because you're trying to have everything so perfectly that you're not even taking any action, and that's only fueling this vicious cycle of you being stuck. Okay, that is going to block your manifestations. Actually, that's going to block you. If you're experiencing that already, I want you to reevaluate your faith with yourself. Okay, the limitations are obviously real, or like the circumstantial challenges are very real. So I'm not saying to, like, you know, discredit the, like, I'm not saying to like invalidate the reality, of course, but there seems to be a little more softened approach to yourself when it comes to you listening to your intuition. And do not blame yourself for things that you don't have control over, but it shows that basically your life is going to open up for you how you want it. Okay, so if you are stuck thinking about like this thing that doesn't really have, that you don't have control over, then that's what's going to expand energetically. So, and then you're going to feel like you're limited by this thing, when in reality you don't have to look at life that way. If you want to really get away from like this and kind of start something on your own, or like do something for yourself, you can do that, but that all comes down to your choice. You know, this is why, you know, the way that my divination sessions are different is that I don't, like, life happens the way that you're choosing it. There are things that are fated, of course, but it's more like the energy is fated rather than this specific event itself. Excuse me. Because things can manifest in different ways. Okay? So that means that the more conscious you are, and the more I don't want to say be control, the more agency you have over yourself, and the more willing you are to really be aware of your power, then you can create much bigger. That's what I'm saying, which is why I don't like to interfere with people's free will, because these are things that I can't teach. I always really emphasize, even on my website it says, like, I'm the type of person who will teach you how to catch the fish, but I'm not going to catch the fish for you. You have to figure out how big of a fish do you want? What type of fish do you want? You know? And what if the fish ends up being a dolphin or a shark? Are you going to, like, are you willing to actually get it? Like, there are things that you have to know for yourself. I can't decide for you what should be the best for you. I mean, actually, that's a little different. I can guide you. I can give counsel on what is the highest, or rather the best thing you could do to choose for yourself in accordance to your highest self. But also, people don't seem to be aware of their highest self, because the way to go to their higher self or connect with their higher self, you have to be brave, and that comes with you sometimes having to directly face pain, and most people don't want to do that. So anyway, that's a whole other topic. But anyways, yeah, there seems to be something about like travel. Perhaps you need to get away for a little bit if you want to have like a more perspective about something. But there, you know, if there is a little trip coming up, you know, obviously that, you know, that is incoming. But, or if it's not a trip, if you want to have a perspective change, okay, you have to then decide that you can't basically limit your life to what you've experienced so far. You have to have the willingness to see more above and beyond, away from what you've only seen so far about yourself. This is why I say use the experiences you've had over the summer as a way to know about a perspective, or like have an aspect, have an understanding of an aspect of how life can be manifested, like your life can be manifested, but also know that life does not have to be that way. It's all about the decisiveness when it comes to perspectives. The way that something shows up in your life doesn't mean that you have to take it in that specific way. Like, you can turn anything around for yourself. So I would say throughout the month of September, I would kind of forge that relationship with yourself. And I just want you to not think about the things that you cannot change the past. Because there's a sense of like, there could be some sense of regret here about like, you know, because now you're digging, you're thinking, oh my God, did I miss my timing? Did I do this the wrong way? Like, what about this? What about that? I don't want you to think that way, because again, there's nothing you can do. Even if you did it the wrong way, there's nothing you can do to change that. Nothing. You can only move forward. Okay. There seems to be some forgiveness you have to do. Maybe the reason why you can't move forward fast enough is because the more you're starting to see your power, the more you're realizing all the things that you did wrong. But look, you can't get mad at yourself because you only knew what you knew back then. The same way that you only know what you know right now, which is what I'm saying. Stop being desperate for clarity. Like, focus on what choices you have right now and make a conscious decision right now, but don't think about the things that you don't know, because you're only doing your best at the level that you're at. So acknowledge like that you could be the one blocking yourself from like opportunities for expansion, basically. So be aware of that. Okay, I want you to find the emotional fulfillment with yourself in a different way. Like, that doesn't involve like you trying to over control yourself, or, you know, having a relationship with yourself is a very delicate process. Like, you know, like that, in order to feel that security within yourself, you really have to, you know, like be compassionate for yourself and not operate from this place of guilt and regret, but rather from a place of empowerment where you know that every moment matters and every decision matters. And that is the message for the month of September. Okay. There's some conflict resolution that I see here, but I feel like it's mainly, so I feel like something that you were like something is getting resolved here in this month. And I feel like the more, and this is not about, and I'm really careful about saying this, but it's not about like your mind like making things happen. But, you know, energy is a thing, and therefore I do want you to be more progressive towards yourself, where you start believing in your past possibilities of life, or what you can do for yourself, the way that you can materialize certain things. So start being more like have more faith for yourself, and then perhaps your expansion, like the way that your perception shifts and the way that you expand on this person, and that's maybe what's going to bring this resolution for you. Okay, this resolution can be involving other parties, or it could also be the conflict you have with yourself, like everything that I talked about so far. So I do want you to keep that in mind. And as far as the rising sign reading, I'm probably going to do that separately. I know I kind of did it like as a experiment in the last video, but I might put that separately, and I'm gonna share it on Patreon. So guys, please check out my Patreon. You can join my Patreon and then support, you know, these little videos, and you can also watch these monthly readings for your rising sign. And of course, nothing ever beats a one-on-one session. If you have specific questions about your personal journey and you want to ask questions about some decisions, and I can definitely help you figure some things out. But other than that, I'm going to leave this video here. So I hope the rest of the month goes really well for you guys. Whenever I feel called to do so, I'll make more videos giving you guys a channel message for how to navigate forward using the energy. All right, guys.